The Oklahoma City Thunder had their fair share of ups and downs. The Kevin Durant and Westbrook duo was great for them, as it even got them a 2012 Finals appearance. But when Kevin Durant decided to be a snake and leave in the 2016 offseason, it left a Westbrook to carry the helm, and he did indeed. But after 2017, Westbrook only led them so far, as he needed some help. The Thunder acquired Paul George and Carmelo Anthony, but even with this big three, it wasn't enough to make the conference finals. Why? Well, let's talk about this failed super team. Kevin Durant, after blowing a 3-1 lead in the 2016 Western Conference Finals, decided to join the Golden State Warriors and form a super team that would dominate for the next 2.5 years. Westbrook was left as the sole scorer, and it worried people if that could even work. Westbrook was given a storyline this season as he can prove that he can be number one option on the Thunder team, and he did indeed. Westbrook infamously is known for his 2017 NBA season as he dominated, averaged a triple-double, and won the league MVP while being a 6th seed. They would unfortunately lose to the Houston Rockets by a leading candidate of the MVP race in James Harden. And Westbrook wanted more help, as he felt like he can lead this team far just with the right pieces. As Steven Adams as your second player is just not going to do it, and the Thunder's GM got to work. George was drafted to the Indiana Pacers in 2011, and he solidified himself as an all-star type player. He was able to lead them to 2 conference finals appearances in 2 tough battles against the super team Miami Heat, but they began to become stagnant. Paul George had 1 year left on his deal, and he made it known he wanted to play in LA. But the Pacers wanted to capitalize to get the best deal, and that came from Oklahoma City Thunder. The Pacers acquired Domantas Sabonis and Victor Oladipo. Many people thought it would be a 1-year rental, as PG-13 made it known he wanted to play in LA or Cleveland. Carmelo Anthony was traded to the New York Knicks in 2011, and he was a scoring phenom. Carmelo lacked in areas that will be explained in a potential overrated video, but Carmelo wanted to be number one option, and the Knicks just didn't work out for him. Carmelo was dominant scoring wise, but not when it came to team success. Melo had an ego problem, and when it was suggested he would get traded and not be number one option role anymore, he won out. He was traded to Oklahoma as the Knicks wanted to go in another direction. This is how the Oklahoma Big Three was formed, and it was getting all the hype. This is the tale of 2 parts, so let's dive into part 1, and then we'll go into part 2. The Thunder went into the season with high expectations. Westbrook just came off a historic season, and people were putting out a stock into him becoming a real superstar. Paul George was a great 2-way player who knows his role and can fix that second option perfectly. And then Carmelo is a phenomenal scorer. But you see how I only said one thing about Melo? He's a scorer, which is something that will become a problem. The Thunder finished a record of 48-34, which is only a 1-game difference from the previous season. What happened? Well, Carmelo Anthony fell off a cliff. This season he averaged 16.2 points, 5.8 rebounds on 40, 35, 76 splits. Melo was approached with an idea for him to come off the bench. This is what he said.
How do you feel about starting at the 4, or the concept of starting at the 4, or even coming off the bench? And the second question is,
who, me?
Oh. I guess that answers that part.
I mean, I don't know where that started, where that came from.
He laughed. Thought of him even coming off the bench. Not the precious Carmelo Anthony. He should never come off the bench. This is one of the issues when it came to this part of the team. Carmelo Anthony wasn't used to this third option role because he wasn't better than Westbrook or Paul George this season. But maybe it was just the regular season. It is hard to adjust, so let's move on to the playoffs. In the first round, they played the Utah Jazz. The Jazz was being led by Donovan Mitchell, a young one at that. In game 1, Paul George dropped 36 points, 7 rebounds, 1 steal on great splits. Westbrook in this game had 29 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists, and 5 turnovers on not so great splits. Melo had 15 points on 5-13 from the field and 2 from 7 from 3-point range. Yeah. The Thunder ended up winning this game and had this series 1-0. Game 2, they all played horrible. Paul George had 18 points, 10 rebounds on bad splits. Westbrook had 19 points, 9 rebounds, 13 assists, and bad splits. Melo had 17 points, but on bad splits. The Thunder lost this game, and this series was tied 1-1. In Game 3, they played bad again. Paul George had 23 points on bad splits. Westbrook had 14 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, 8 turnovers on bad splits. Melo had 14 points on bad splits as well. The Thunder lost this game and were down this series 2-1. In Game 4, they began to play better. Paul George dropped 31 points, 6 rebounds, 6 turnovers on bad splits. Is that really better? Westbrook had 23 points, 14 rebounds, and 14 assists on bad splits. Melo had 11 points, And that's all I'm gonna say about him. The Jazz won this game and walked through won this series. In Game 5, Paul George and Westbrook came to play. Paul George dropped 34 points, 8 rebounds on decent splits. Westbrook, he dropped 45 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 turnovers on decent splits. And Carmelo Anthony dropped, am I reading that correctly? Carmelo Anthony dropped 7 points. Even with that, the Thunder still won this game and had this series 3-2. In Game 6, Westbrook dropped 46 points, 10 rebounds, 5 turnovers on decent splits. But the rest of this team is just bad. Paul George dropped 5 points. Yes, 5 points. I expect that from Carmelo Anthony, but Paul George, speaking of Carmelo Anthony, you are not off the hook. Melo dropped 7 points this game, and the Jazz won this game and won this series. And the Thunder, the Big Three Thunder, was dropped out in the first round. Now, you know how I said this video was in 2 parts? Yeah, because Melo was traded after the season, it was rightfully so. He was traded to the Hawks, then waived, and then went to the Houston Rockets. Also, Sam Presti lied in this post up on the thing. You do not acknowledge his professionalism. Anyways, this is now part 2 of this failed experiment. After Melo was traded, it was now Paul George, who I mentioned has a 1-year deal, and he signed a contract extension. He what? Trying to do anything. He signed a contract extension. Thank you. With this extension, it meant Paul George was here to play with Westbrook for now. This season, Paul George had arguably his best season of his career. He was top in MVP voting, top in Defensive Player of the Year voting, and led this team this year. Even with this, they finished with a record of 49-33. It was trying to get redemption from last year. In the first round, they played the Portland Trailblazers, who was still being led by Damian Lillard.
I mean, that's a bad shot.
In Game 1, Paul George had 26 points, 10 rebounds, 4 steals on decent splits. Westbrook had 24 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, but it wasn't enough as the Trailblazers won this game to have this series 1-0. In Game 2, Paul George had 27 points, 8 rebounds, 5 turnovers on bad splits. Westbrook had 14 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists, 6 turnovers on horrific splits. The Blazers won this game and had this series 2-0. In Game 3, Westbrook finally had a good game as he had 33 points, 11 assists, 5 rebounds, and 5 turnovers. Paul George had a decent game as he had 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists on bad splits. The Thunder won this game and had this series 2-1. In Game 4, Paul George had a good game as he had 32 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 turnovers, but on bad splits. Westbrook had a bad game as he had 14 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. The Blazers again won and the Thunder was down 3-1. In Game 5, Paul George came to play as he dropped 36 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 turnovers on good splits. Westbrook had 29 points, 12 rebounds, 14 assists, 4 steals, 5 turnovers on bad splits. It was a close game. As the game was tied and it was about to go into overtime, Damian Lillard got the ball and did this.
Lillard, a chance to send the Thunder home. Lillard, long-range 3, and it's good!
Dame shot and sent this team back home again for the 2nd year in a row. After the season, Sam Presti did a full rebuild. Paul George was the Clippers in the package that got them Shea and other assets. Westbrook was traded to Houston, where he will begin his journey as an NBA journeyman. Now, why did this team fail? 1, all these players aren't first option type players. Westbrook's play style is just hard to be able to contribute to winning, and we'll deep dive in the video I'll make on him soon. But this team had a huge turnover issue, which is due to him not having a true playmaker. What? But golden takes. How is Westbrook not a true playmaker? Because Westbrook's vision is very tunnel based. Now don't get me wrong, Westbrook is a good playmaker, but he needed more of them on this team. Ego is what separated Melo on this team. His inability to realize that he is indeed regressing is just insane to see and read when I was doing research on this video. Paul George played excellent in his 2nd year with his team without Melo, as he was able to play with Westbrook. But his playoff performance, man, they were just inconsistent. Paul George said this in an interview. He claimed that we didn't meet playoff P yet in the first season they were together, but we saw him in full action. Playoff P is inconsistent. Having an inconsistent second option is bad, and we have a third option to step in their place. It's what separates good big threes in this tragedy. Oklahoma City Thunder horrific attempt at the big 3 was bad at first, but they have definitely bounced back and are in contention to even win an NBA championship.